we'll try and complete verses 2 to 5 today. This verses, so verse number 1 was, what was it? The Vidushi, what are you trying to say? Sorry.
Ishwarah Parama Krishnah
Yeah,
Satchidananda.
but what is, very good. What is that verse called?
Paribhasha Sutra.
Perfect. Paribhasha Sutra. So it is the verse that encapsulates the entire Brahma Samhita, the message of the Brahma Samhita. Verses 2 to 5 tell us about Krishna's Dham. So we can call it Dham Tattva. So we'll be looking at those today. We'll start with the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Radha Giridhari Bhagavan Ki Jai. Starting with verse 2. So I'll say it and you can repeat after me. Sahasrapatra Kamalam
Sahasrapatra Kamalam
Gokulakhyam Mahatpadam
Gokulakyam Mahapradam
Tatkarnikaram Tadhama
Tatkarnikaram Dadhama
Tadanantamsha Sambhavam. Sahasrapatra, possessing 1,000 petals. Kamalam, a lotus. Gokula Akhyam, known as Gokula. Mahatpadam, the super excellent station. Tat, of that lotus. Karnikaram, the wall. Tat, of him, Krishna. Dhama, the abode. Tat, that Gokula. Ananta, of his infinitary aspect, Balarama. Amsha, from a part. Sambhavam, produced. Translation. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the second verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect, the whirl of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. So what this actually means, the super excellent station of Krishna, the super excellent home of Krishna, abode of Krishna. So it's not just excellent, it's super excellent. And what is its name? Its name is Gokula. Has thousands of petals and a corolla. So this dham is in the shape of a lotus. Sahasrapatra Kamalam. So it's in the shape of 1,000 petal lotus. Now, does that mean it has only 1,000 petals? No. When we say it's got thousands petals, Nobody's actually sat and counted the 1,000. So it implies that it's got numerous petals. It may be way more than 1,000. But because nobody's really sat down and counted it, we say it's a 1,000-petal lotus. Big lotus. Okay. And it says Karnikaram. In the Tad Karnikaram Tad Dhama. That wall of the lotus, you know, if you've seen a lotus, the middle part is that spongy yellow thing. That is Krishna's home. That is Krishna's home. And this whole lotus has been created by a part of his infinitary aspect. So Krishna's infinitary aspect is Balaram, Baladeva. A part, Amsha of Balaram. And Amsha of Balaram is Ananta. So it has been created by Ananta. Tad Anantamsha. Tad Anantamsha Sambhavam. It has been created by him. Okay. Now, here, I'm not going to go through the purport, but I'm going to summarize the purport for you. Okay. So all the salient points of the purport, all the points which are difficult to understand out here, we'll just put them all up. Yeah. I mean, I'll just go through them. So the overview of the purport here is basically two. First, it gives us the general characteristics of Krishna's abode. And second, it tells us that Gokula and Goloka are one and the same. So what is Gokula? What is Goloka? When we say Vrindavan, we mean Gokula Vrindavan. When we say, I'm going to Vrindavan in December, what do we mean? That's Gokula Vrindavan. This is the Vrindavan that is manifest on earth, which is why we say we differentiate it from Golok Vrindavan. What do we say? Spiritually, after I give up this body and everything, I want to go to Golok Vrindavan. So the difference is Goloka Vrindavan is that Vrindavan which is unmanifest. So it is not visible to our eyes. Whereas Gokula Vrindavana is the one that is manifest. It's the one that we can see. So although Gokul is in the material world, it is not limited in power and space like the material world. Everything in the material world is limited by time and space. But Gokul is not. Further, it's said that Baladev, he manifests innumerable transcendental abodes. All of these are on the other side of the Viraja river, which is on the spiritual plane. And the material plane is manifest on this side of the Viraja river. Now, the material plane is 1/4 the size of the entire manifestation, and the spiritual plane is 3/4. So when we look at the purport, this statement here, which says the uni-quadrantal delineation of material universe will be dealt with in the proper place. The tri-quadrantal extensions of the transcendental infinitary field of the Almighty, unlamenting, non-perishing, and non-apprehending unlimited situations of halo, which are fully spiritual majestic foliation. This means uni-quadrantal means 1/4, uni means 1, quadrant means 4. So 1/4, tri-quadrantal means 3/4, transcendental infinitary field of the Almighty, which is unlamenting. Unlamenting means ananda, non-perishing, sat, non-apprehending unlimited situations of halo. So Satchit Ananda. Okay, so the spiritual field, the spiritual realm is pure consciousness, pure bliss, pure knowledge, whereas the material is 1/4 the size of the entire creation, and it is limited in time and space. Okay. Then he goes on to say, in the spiritual world, Goloka is the topmost planet. So the spiritual world, just like the material world, has a number of planets and actually a number of universes. And within those universes, a number of planets. In the spiritual world as well, there are a number of spiritual planets. Out of all these spiritual planets, Goloka is the topmost. And when that Goloka comes down to the material world, it's called Gokula. So Gokula and Goloka are identical. So one disciple of Prabhupada told him, but Prabhupada, Vrindavan is so dirty. It's so filthy, so many pigs and dirt and everything. And Prabhupada said, you have to have spiritual eyes to see Vrindavan, because it is actually a Chintamani Dham. It is a place which is made up of Chintamani gems. But because we are unable to see it, it appears to us as a place that's very dirty. So the Garga Samhita actually tells a story about how Lord Brahma came to Krishna for help to get rid of the demons on earth. At that time, Krishna was sitting with Radharani. Krishna said, yes, I'll go. I'll come down to earth and I'll annihilate. And then he turned to Radharani and said, but I want you also to come. And Radharani said, no, I don't want to come. Because Giriraj is here, all the Tamala trees are here, all the various kunds are here. Everything that is beautiful and wonderful is here. Earth. Who wants to go to earth? I'm not going there. I will only go to earth if all these things can also come with me. So Lord Krishna says, yes, they can also come. By your mercy, anything is possible. So it is by Radharani's mercy that this Bhuloka Vrindavana is actually manifest. So Golok Vrindavan is the eternal abode of Krishna. And when that Goloka descends here, it's called Gokula. And this is something which, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, this is something which we humans with our tiny, tiny brains find it very, very difficult to understand. How is it possible? Think about it. We just said that Goloka is 3/4 the size of the entire creation. Okay, so the entire creation, 3/4 of that is the spiritual planet, a spiritual realm. And within that, there is a planet called Goloka, which means it's massive. Now, that massive planet is on planet Earth, which is a tiny dot in the entire creation. And within that, there is this tiny little town called Vrindavan. How is that even possible? So this is called Achintya. So when it comes to Lord Krishna, there are just so many things that are Achintya. Another example, if you go look at Dwaraka, it's actually a small place. Now, assuming that in those days it was very big. Even then, what are we talking about? We are talking about how many wives? 16,108 wives. Each with her own palace. Palace does not mean just a building. It means all the guards that go with it. It means all the gardens around it and all the fields around it to cater to all the people that live in the palace. Then, there are children inside, so they need playgrounds. It's a mini town. Every palace is a mini town. So you're talking about 16,108 towns that existed within the city of Dwaraka. And Lord Sri Krishna lives in each of those palaces all the time with each of his wives, doing different things at different times. And when Narada Rishi goes and sees, he says he's just stuck dumb. He just cannot even fathom. This is inconceivable, achintya. So with our tiny brains, we just can't even, we can only listen in awe. But if we try to analyze it, it just is not possible for us. And the other thing is, Gokula being the Lord's own home. The Lord is Ananta. Ananta means what? Endless. He is infinite. He is infinite. The Lord is Ananta. How can his home be limited when the Lord is unlimited? Which means that home of the Lord, that Golok Vrindavan, is also unlimited. So when we say it is 1/4 and 3/4 and all that, what is 1/4 of infinity? It's still infinite. It's basic maths, isn't it? What's 1/4 of infinity? Infinity. What is 3/4 of infinity? Infinity. So everything about the Lord is unlimited. The Lord is unlimited. His home is unlimited. Everything about him is unlimited. The Lord is Sat Chit Ananda. His home is Sat Chit Ananda. It is eternal. It is a manifestation of knowledge. It's a manifestation of bliss. And till we become Sat Chit Ananda, we will not be able to perceive that Sat Chit Ananda. So what does that mean? It means that we have to overcome this gross body and the subtle body and get down to the level of the Atma. Turiam.
Kathopanishad. Kathopanishad? No.
Mundakopanishad.
Mundakopanishad.
Mundakopanishad. Now, what is the difference between Goloka and Gokula? One big difference. They are the same, correct? But there's one big difference. Can you and I decide to go to Golok Vrindavan in December? But we can decide to go to Gokula. Right? So that is the difference. Gokula is very merciful because it is manifested by the goddess of mercy, Radharani. So Gokula is very merciful. Even in our dirty forms, with our dirty minds, we can land up there and beg to be allowed to go to Goloka. So just as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, just as, you know, a cloud may cover the eyes of the observer, but the cloud cannot cover the sun. So the same way, when we have this bodily concept, we are unable to see it. We are unable to see Goloka. We are unable to experience the Goloka. So once we overcome this, then yes, Chitra Mataji, you have your hand up.
So Golok Vrindavan and Vaikuntha are the one and the same, or they are different?
Okay, so Golok, so like I said, there are many planets in the spiritual world. So amongst those planets, there are planets for Mahavishnu, there are planets for Lord Rama, so Ayodhya, Dwaraka, Mathura, Goloka. Everything is there. On one hand, the whole spiritual world is called Vaikuntha. The entire spiritual world. So whether it includes Goloka or not, it is still Vaikuntha, the whole spiritual world. So the 3/4, it's called Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means the place where there is no anxiety, no problems at all. Now, there, whether you go to the Dham of Mahavishnu or you go to the Dham of Lord Rama or you go to the Dham of Varahadev, it doesn't matter where you go, it is Vaikuntha. There is no anxiety. Because where the Lord is there, there is no anxiety. But within the whole Vaikuntha, there are all these different places. So when we talk about going to the spiritual world, depending on our mood and depending on who we worship, that is where we go. So when we say who we worship, who we love. So what does it depend on? It depends on our desires. It depends on what is the form we desire. What is the relationship we desire? For instance, if I want to become the mother of Krishna, sitting in Ayodhya is not going to help me. Right? Or sitting in Mathura Puri is also, it depends on what kind of mood I have. If I have a feeling of awe and reverence, then yes, Mathura Puri, where Devaki is. Because Devaki looks at Lord Krishna with some amount of reverence. Whereas if it is what is not commonly called the Gopi Bhav, where you just love him. You think of him as your child and that's it. Then it is Goloka. Or if it is Lord Rama that you are that you want to worship, then it's Ayodhya. So it all depends on what is our mood and which form of the Lord we like. So ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. That applies here as well. Whatever form we worship him in, he responds in the same. Does that make sense, Chitra Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, because I was just recalling the Abhanga of this Santa Tukaram, or I don't remember which saint it is, but Paolo Pandhari, Vaikuntha Bhuvari.
Correct.
So that's why.
Huh.
And this, yeah, so that's why it just came to my mind whether what Vaikuntha and Golok Vrindavan is one and the same.
Yes.
And second thing, what if we are still very confused about what bhav we have? I mean, I want to worship Lord Krishna, but sometimes I want to worship him as he is a very young child. I want to take care of him. But sometimes maybe I will be like, oh, he is so beautiful. Like, so what if we are still confused and we don't figure out what bhav we want with? Yeah, that is fixed, that Krishna. But I can't figure out yet
Yes.
whether I want to love him as my child, or I want to love him as my lover, or you know.
Yes, so Kamla Mataji, you were saying something?
It's a rasa. We are
Yeah.
not sure which rasa we are having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so confused.
So,
Because when
so Prabhupada answers this by saying, don't worry about it. At this, just chant and build a relationship, and that relationship will become clearer over time. And the same question was actually asked by one of the devotees here to Radha Govind Maharaj. And he said, in fact, it was the exact same question, where she said, one day I want to worship him as Bal Gopal, and the next day I want to worship him as Radha Kanta. So where do I fit in? So he also said the same thing. He says, well, at this stage, don't worry about it. Whatever mood you see him, at that time you worship him. But then he did encourage her to get a Laddu Gopal as well. So, so this is.
Can I say something?
Yes, Daddy.
This is called Swarupa Siddha. Swarupa Siddha means you treat the God as a servant, you treat me as a servant, a friend, or a parent, or a lover. It is called Swarupa Siddha. But the rasa, all the four rasas, we should not develop love unless and until we perfectly finish our devotional service. Then you think of any rasa.
Okay. This is a whole big, massive topic. Okay. So probably at this stage, we won't go into it.
Yeah.
It's also a bit controversial. Okay. So at this stage, let's not go into it. Suffice it to say that at this stage, we just focus on trying to purify ourselves from all our anarthas. Yeah. So focus on chanting and purify ourselves from our anarthas, because what Swarupa Siddha actually means is that you know your original form. Yeah, which means you have a mood which is fixed, which is permanent, which is called the sthai bhava, which is what comes up in the, so that comes up in Nectar of Devotion. Yeah. So now how does one get sthai bhava? It's a little controversial because on one hand, we are told that, you know, a guru will give it to you. On the other hand, we are told that, well, don't go looking for it. And then there is another aspect to it where the acharyas have told us that you've got to figure out what you want to be and work towards it. So there are a number of different opinions that have been put forward in this. So this, I think, is not the right time to go into all those opinions and, you know, unpack all of that and try to understand that. We'll do that at a later stage, if you don't mind, Chitra Mataji.
No, yeah, that's fine. It was just came to my mind.
Yeah, no, I understand, because that's I think it's a very common situation for most devotees. You know, we one day go, oh, he's my sweetie pie, he's my little baby, and
Especially when we hear Damodar Katha.
yeah, exactly. So the whole month of Kartik is in bliss. Oh, he's my little baby. And then the whole after that, it's like, oh, hang on, he's also Radha, Radha's, you know. So I want to serve Radharani. Now, where does Radharani fit into Damodar Katha? You know, so it becomes a little difficult. But having said that, the definition of we keep getting told that serving Krishna in Madhurya Bhav is the topmost. What does serving Krishna in Madhurya Bhava actually mean? Who'd like to tell me? We are told that it means serving Krishna in the mood of a gopi. That's our common understanding, isn't it? But for most of us, that's not what we can be. So the definition of Madhurya Bhav for bhaktas is serving Radharani. The moment you serve Radharani, you're automatically serving Radha Krishna, because Radha is never without Krishna. So the moment you think of serving Radharani, it means you're serving Radha Krishna, and Radha Krishna together, Yugala Kishore, is Madhurya Bhav. So let's not break our heads about, you know, oh, I want to. So even when we are serving Damodar, he's running around. Who is it? Sanatana Goswami actually says that Yashoda Mata was able to tie Krishna up only because at that time Radharani came there and she gave Yashoda Mata a ribbon from her hair and said, now use this to tie him. So Radharani is always with Krishna. So whether he's in a tiny little baby form or whatever form, it's just that she may be manifest or she may not be manifest next to him. That's it. Because she is his Shakti. A Shakti and Shaktiman, how can they be separated? They cannot be. So we are told to serve them, you know, as per the Gaudiya Sampradaya, we are told to serve them in Madhurya Bhav. Which gets a lot of us very confused about, oh, how do I actually, what am I supposed to be thinking? Am I supposed to be thinking I'm a gopi? No, don't bother. Just think of yourself as a servant of Radharani and you're sorted. Because with all the others, whether it's Vatsalya Bhav, whether it's Sakhya or Dasya or Shanta, Radharani doesn't appear separately. It's only when we talk about Madhurya that it's Radha Krishna. So Prabhupada has given us the easiest way. He said, serve the energy of the Lord. When you're chanting, what are you saying? Oh, energy of the Lord, please give me an opportunity to serve the Lord. So our entire focus is the lotus feet of Sri Radharani. That's all, nothing else. Easy, life is easy.
Thank you, Mataji.
So, going back, so we were looking at, we just finished. So we were looking at the first verse. So we basically finished the first verse here. Does that make sense? So this was about Goloka and Gokula. Now we go to the third one. Karnikaram mahadyantram.
Karnikaram mahadyantram.
Shatkonam vajrakilakam.
Shadkonam vajrakilakam.
Shadanga shatpadi sthanam.
Shadanga shatpadi sthanam.
Prakritya purushena cha.
Prakrutya purushena cha.
Premananda mahananda.
Premananda mahananda.
Rasenavasthitam hiyat. Jyoti rupena manuna.
Jyotirupena manuna.
Kama bijena sangatam.
Kama bijena sangatam.
Karnikaram, the wall. Mahat, great. Yantram, figure. Shatkonam, hexagon. Vajra, like a diamond. Kilakam, the central support. Shat anga shat padi, of the 18-syllable mantra with 6-fold divisions. Sthanam, the place of manifestation. Prakritya, along with the predominated aspect of the absolute. Purushena, along with the predominating aspect of the absolute. Cha, also. Prema Ananda, of the bliss of love of God. Maha Ananda, of the great transcendental jubilations. Rasena, with the rasa, mellow. Avasthitam, situated. He, certainly. Yat, which. Jyotihi Rupena, transcendental. Manuna, with the mantra. Kama Bijena, with the Kama Bija, clean. Sangatam, joined. Now, this verse tends to get a little esoteric. So here we are talking about Krishna's transcendental pastimes. We are talking about the two different methods for seeing his non-manifestative pastimes. So for seeing Krishna in Goloka, we are talking about the glories of the 18-lettered mantra and of the Kama Bija, which is clean. So this, we'll come to the 18-letter mantra, but anyway. So Jiva Goswami tells us that Krishna can be experienced through a mantra in 4 ways. What are those? First, he is the cause of the mantra itself. He is the presiding deity of the mantra. He is the syllables of the mantra, and he is the personality who is worshipped by the mantra. So anytime we say a mantra, we not just say the mantra, we also see the form of the Lord within the mantra in these 4 ways. That this mantra has come from Krishna, that each of the syllables of the mantra refer to Krishna, that the mantra is used, that he's the presiding deity of the mantra, which means the mantra's form, spiritual form, is that of Krishna. And with the mantra, we worship Krishna. So the first verse, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karanam. This tells us how he is the worshipable deity, and he's also been presented as the presiding deity. Now, in this verse, we're going to understand how the syllables of the mantra are Krishna. Now, the translation of this verse is the wall of the transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It is a hexagonal figure. The abode, so hexagonal figure, you know how yantras look? Shatkon. You know, they are the triangle, a straight triangle and an inverted triangle going together. Yeah, that's a shatkon. So yantras are usually in this format. So you have the 6 triangles that form. That's where the various mantras are written, the various syllables are written, and within the center in various, sometimes it's a spiral, or it could be just lines. The mantras are written in various ways. And this hexagonal figure, the Shatkona, is called yantra because it represents, it's an instrumental representation of the Lord. So it is a hexagonal figure, the abode of the indwelling predominated, which means Prakriti, and predominating aspect of the absolute. Predominating aspect is Purusha. So Prakriti and Purusha. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of the self-luminous Krishna, Vajrakilakam. Okay, so when we talked about Vajrakilakam, Kilaka, you know how in a wheel you have the axle which holds the wheel up, the central part, that is Kilakam. Okay, and the Kilakam for this mantra is Sri Krishna himself. He stands there like a diamond. Why diamond? Because diamond is very hard. It cannot be easily broken or shaken. So he supports the mantra. The mantra rests on him. He stands as the transcendental source of all potencies. So all the Shaktis come from him. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with 6-fold divisions. Now, in the purport, so this is the summary of the purport. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells us that Krishna's abodes or Krishna's pastimes are of 2 types, Prakata and Aprakata. Prakata means manifest. They are visible. Aprakata means they are unmanifest, they are not visible. Not visible does not mean that those pastimes are not happening, that those leelas are not happening. What it means is, and a common example that is given is how, the sun has set here. But just because the sun has set here, it doesn't mean that the sun has disappeared or the sun is lost. It means that the sun has come up somewhere else. So the same way, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's leelas, they may finish here, but he would have started it somewhere else, and we are unable to see it. Now, how can we see Krishna's unmanifest pastimes? That, we are told, is in two ways. Jiva Goswami tells us there are two ways in which we can see Krishna's unmanifest pastimes. So Krishna is not here today. He's not on earth. But his leelas are happening somewhere else. How do we see them? Two ways. One is called Mantramayi Upasana. Upasana means worship. First is Mantramayi, through mantra. And the second is Swabhaviki or Swarasiki, which means natural. Swabhaviki, something which is natural. We'll look at the two processes. So the first process, which is Mantramayi, means worship through mantra. Now, for a mantra worship to be fruitful, it has to be done in the proper place, at the proper time, and that mantra is usually confined to a particular leela. So you cannot just say, okay, if I'm sitting and focusing on, let us say, Ugram Viram Mahavishnum Jalantam Sarvato Mukham Nrsimham Bhishanam Bhadram Mrityum Namamyaham. This is a mantra. When I'm chanting this, can I be thinking of Radha Krishna? No. Because this mantra is for Narasimhadev. It is talking about his Ugra form. Which means there is a time, a place, I should have taken, before I sit down and chant this mantra, maybe I don't know what the criteria are, but I'm sure one should have taken one's bath. There must be so many different things if you're going to sit down and chant it properly. So that is one way of saying this mantra. The other is Swabhaviki. I'm afraid. And I want to call out to Narasimhadev. I just close my eyes and go, Narasimhadev, please protect me. Please protect me. There is no mantra. There is nothing, but I am worshipping him. How am I worshipping him? Just naturally. Now that is possible. Now this was Narasimhadev. When we talk about worshipping Lord Krishna, the mantras and everything are all there. But when it comes to Swabhaviki, we are talking about a deep level of love without awe and reverence, which means we are talking about the way the Gopas and the Gopis would call on Krishna to help them. How do they call Krishna? Krishna, Krishna Mahayogin. Huh? So that's what the Gopas say when, you know, the forest fire. They call him. What do they call? Are they saying Om? No, there is no man. That is not a mantra. They're calling Krishna, Krishna. We know you're a Mahayogi, is what they are saying. There is no Om, there is no Kleem, there is nothing like that. What they are saying is not a mantra. So the difference between a mantra and just a prayer is that a mantra must have a bija to start it off. So words like Om, Shreem, Kleem, Kraum, Narasimhadeva Kraum, all these are bijas. Bija or seed. These are called seed mantras. Without this, the mantra has no value. And just saying the seed without the mantra, the seed has no value. Which is why here we are able to actually read mantras which are given to us during initiation. But the bija is separate, the mantra is separate. Yes, Revati Mataji, you have your hand up.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Mataji, when you're talking about worshipping, I forgot the technical term you used, but we worshipping through the channel of the mantras. We are also praying Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right, Mataji? So that's the mantra. That's what we are praying, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, although the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is called, the name has the word mantra in it. It is not a mantra at all. Okay, that is why it's called a Mahamantra. We do not say Hare Krishna mantra.
We say Mahamantra, yeah.
We say Mahamantra. Why? Because it does not have a bija. We don't start off by saying Om Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. We do not say that. It is Mahamantra because we are just calling. We're just calling. Sanskrit, na? Hare, Krishna, and Rama. All three are in Sambodhana. Vocative case. By all these three words, all we are doing is just calling out to Krishna. Calling out Hare to Radha. So, although it's called a mantra, technically it's not a mantra at all. But if we go by the definition of mantra, what is one of the definitions of mantra is that manaha trayate, that it helps you to control your mind. Yeah, in that sense, it's a mantra. Why? Because another characteristic of a mantra is that you keep repeating it. So to that extent, it can be called a mantra, but technically it's not a mantra at all. And that is why it's called a Mahamantra, to differentiate it from all mantras. Does it make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, Sukamala Mataji.
Mataji, why does it say 18 syllables?
We'll come to that just now. We'll just come to that in a minute. Yes, Ma? Oh, you're muted, Mom.
Narasimha Kavasham, that I say at night before going to bed. So, do I have to have my purification and everything, and then only I have to say that?
No. No, because again, we come back to this, you know. So, for instance, it all again, it all depends on your mood.
Okay.
It all depends on your mood. If all you're doing is you're just praying, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And throughout the Narasimha Kavacha,
Yeah.
there is no Bija mantra, if you realize. It just goes Narasimha Kavacham Vakshe Prahalade Noditam Pura Sarvarakshakaram Punyam Sarvopadravo. What is that? Sarva Sampat Karam Chaiva. So it just goes that way.
Sarva Moksha Pradayakam.
Pradayakam Dhyatva Narasimha Hemesham. So there is no Om, there is no Krim, there's no sorry, crown.
Om Sharam.
The crown
We do
comes
say-
at the end.
Yeah.
Huh?
But this Garjantam, Garjayantam, Tam Nijabu Jabalam, all
Patalam,
those things.
Spotayantam, Hatantam, Rupayantam,
Yeah. So all
Satatam,
those things are
Samharantam,
there.
Harantam, Vikshantam, Karadikarashater, Divya Simham, Namami.
Amami. Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, some slokas are there.
Those are verses that come from the Bhagavatam
Okay.
and from the Narasimha Purana. They are not part of the Narasimha Kavacha.
So that can we say at night?
Yeah, you say it.
Because
Don't worry about it, Mom.
okay.
Because I'm sure Narasimhadev is not going to be worried at all. See, end of the day, Narasimhadev is here to protect his devotees. And if he does get angry, what more fun? At least that way he'll look at us.
Yeah.
Nah. He's never going to get angry with his devotees. He never will. So the 18 syllable. Oh, yes, Aditya Prabhu.
Mataji, when we were kid, we were like told not to tell the mantras at the wrong time of the day because it wakes up the Lord while he's taking rest.
Yeah, well, that's just one way of telling the kids stop randomly saying things. You have to take your bath and you have to do it. So the time, place, circumstances, that comes into play. So you tell the kids and like I said, mantras have a time and a place that they are supposed to be spoken. So if you're following that mantropasana vidhi, then that's how it is to be done. But although we follow the Pancharatra vidhi in ISKCON, we actually follow a mixture. Pancharatra is where you have the mantras, which is why we are given all our Gayatri mantras. But at the same time, the way we worship, it is very swabhaviki. Because if you actually went and let's say you went to the Pejawar Mutt in Udupi or somewhere, the level of ceremony that you have to stand on in terms of personal cleanliness of the place, the amount of times, the types of achaman that you do, the kinds of mudras that you have to perform, the self-purification that goes on before you are even allowed to enter into the temple and then into the sanctum sanctorum, and the purification of all the items that are going to be used for worship, the clothes that you can wear. So no stitched clothes, definitely no women on the altar. Yeah. So all that, we in ISKCON, we don't follow that. So our way of doing it is a mixture of both. It takes the mantras, the And Prabhupada has basically taken the bare minimum basic mantras that are required and married it up with the Swabhaviki style. Say, just love the Lord, pray with all your heart. What is your mood? One of love. What are you asking him for? Nothing, just his happiness. And go ahead and that's Swarasiki or Swabhaviki.
Thank you, Mataji.
So the 18 syllable mantra is Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha, which is the second last mantra that we get in our Gayatri. So this mantra establishes, so it's discussed in detail in the Gopala Tapani Upanishad. So Krishnaya, so here we're calling out to Krishna in 3 different ways, okay? And the bija that goes in front of it is the word Kleem. So the word Krishnaya, so here the mantra itself is calling out to Krishna in 3 ways: Krishna, Govinda, and Gopijana Vallabha. So Krishna is one who delivers everyone from sins, attracts them. Govinda gives pleasure to the cows. Gopijana Vallabha is one who sports with the gopis. So they are, what's the word I'm looking for? They correspond, each of these names corresponds to Sambandha, Abhidheya, and Prayojana. So Krishnaya is the deity that establishes our Sambandha. And he corresponds to the Madan Mohan deity in Karoli, Rajasthan. So originally in Vrindavan, there were these 3 deities. So Govinda, Gopinath, and Madan Mohan. Govinda Dev is now in Jaipur. Gopinath is also in Jaipur. And Madan Mohan is in a place called Karoli, which is near Jaipur. About in India, when we say near, it has to be at least 4 hours away. So it's about 4 or 6 hours away from Jaipur. So Krishnaya establishes our Sambandha. Govindaya establishes the process, so Abhidheya. And Gopijana Vallabha corresponds with Gopinath, who helps us to achieve our final goal, so Prayojana. And these 6 words are the ones that sit on the Shatkon, on the 6 edges. Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopi, Jana, Vallabhaya, Swaha. And in the center stands Kleem, who is Krishna himself. So Kleem, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us, K stands for Krishna, the L-E stands for Radha, and the is the dot above them. The dot is them embracing, getting together. So Kleem is Radha and Krishna, who are the pivot of this mantra. So so this is Swarasiki. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about all this. So Krishnaya, Govindaya, Gopijana, Vallabhaya, Swaha. These are the 6 that are placed on the hexagon. And here he talks about, if you look at, which paragraph is this? So if you're looking, so the paragraph that starts with the hexagonal great transcendental missionary is in this wise. If you go down about 10 lines, it says, the general meaning is this, that one who is desirous of entering into the esoteric pastimes of Krishna will have to practice his transcendental service along with the culture of the devotional knowledge relative to him. So first, so there are 6 pieces of knowledge that come from these 6 words. Krishna Swarupa. What is the proper form of Krishna? That comes from Krishnaya. Govindaya tells us Krishnasya Chinmaya Vraja Leela Vilasa Swarupa. That is the true nature of Krishna's transcendental pastimes in Vraja. Gopijana Tat Parikara Gopijana Swarupa. The true nature of his spiritual associates in Vraja. That is the Gopas and the Gopis. Vallabhaya Tad Vallabha. The true nature of self-surrender to Krishna in the footsteps of the Gopis of Vraja. Swa Shuddha Jivasya Chit Jnana Swarupa. The true nature of the spiritual knowledge of the unalloyed individual soul, Shuddha Jiva, okay, so, which means not contaminated by material. And Ha Chit Prakritihi Arthat Krishna Seva Swabhava. What is the true nature of the transcendental service to Lord Shri Krishna? That establishes this relationship and awakening of one's pure cognition. So if we want to enter into Krishna's pastimes, into his Goloka pastimes, then we are forced to go via this mantra. Or let's put it this way, not forced, forced is the wrong word. We can go through the process of chanting this mantra. And this mantra, like I said, is given when we get our Brahmana Diksha. This is one of the mantras that is given. So once again, we managed to do just 2 and 3, so only 2 verses. And I think we'll stop here. My sincere request is please do read the purports. And if there's anything you don't understand, we will discuss it in class. Because the first, like I said, the first 5 tend to be a little esoteric. Technical is probably more the right word, and a little difficult to understand, but it's important that we do, because there are a number of philosophical concepts that get covered here. And all of this is actually covered in the Bhagavatam as well, but not so succinctly and so clearly. They are kind of spread out and you've got to get the essence from a lot of different places. Whereas this is like everything all compressed and put into the right boxes. Yes, Ma?
This is silly question.
Oh, no problem.
The last class, you have mentioned that cows are Golokavasis. So, are we also Golokavasis? Then we came to human. because we were not ready to stay there. Because I have heard sometimes somebody was telling that before Manushya, that cow is the last.
No.
And after that, Manushya is coming.
No. So I don't think we were Golokavasis before we became human beings. So we were definitely not the cows from Goloka. We were definitely we've been roaming around here only. So
the cows who eat some paper and plastic and all.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But yes, cows, our Shastras hold cows in very, very high esteem. So when we actually read the Shastra, there are two ways of looking at everything. I think we talked about it last time as well. One way is directly understanding what has been said, so taking the direct meaning. The second is to take an allegorical meaning. So when we say cows are Golokavasis, yes, they are Golokavasis. Otherwise, the place Goloka would not get its name. Goloka itself means home of cows, right? So, and those cows have appeared here. Yes, because everything that appears in the material world is a reflection of what's there in the spiritual world. Having said that, the cows in the spiritual world are spiritual, whereas the cows that are here are not spiritual. They have material bodies. So, on one sense, yes, these are cows who, so we say the same, don't we? We say human beings, well, at least the Bible says it very nicely. It says, man is created in the image of God. Yeah, man is created in the image of God, which means we look like God, we look like Krishna, which is true, we do. Which is why Krishna says, fools deride me when I appear in a human form. Right? So does he come in a human form? No, he comes in his own form. When Krishna appears, he appears in his own form. It's just that his own form looks human. And so everybody goes, oh, you look less like me, so you must be like me. Which means you also are born, you also grow, you also transform, you also have byproducts, you also dwindle, you also die. And amongst all this Janma Mrityu, you get Jara and Vyadhi also. But that is not the case. Because Krishna's form is Chinmay, Satchitananda. Our form is not. The same way the cows in Goloka are also Chinmay. The cows here are not. But we give, just as we are supposed to give every human the same amount of respect that we give God. Why? Because in everyone, Krishna is sitting as Paramatma. The same way, if we respect the cows in Goloka, we are supposed to respect them here also. And why only cows? Everything. There are lions and tigers also in Goloka. Krishna also has dog. Krishna has a dog. And you know what his dog's name is?
Vajra.
Vyagra.
What?
Vyagra means tiger. So you know how in India we have people who call their dogs, "Hey Sheru, idhar aao." Sheru means tiger. Little tiger, come here. So Krishna also calls his dog tiger. He says, Vyagra. So Krishna's dog's name is Tiger. So everything that is here is there. Or let's put it the other way around actually. Everything that is there is here. Urdhvamulam adha shakam. It is a inverted reflection. Does that make sense?
Also, I can say one thing.
Huh?
Also, cow is considered and is one of the 7 mothers.
Mm.
So we have to adore and respect the cow.
True, true, true. So shall we stop here?
Yes.
Any questions? Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Shubha Ratri.